Hello and welcome to this week's webisode with Fishwick Associates. Today is actually Veterans Day, and with that we have a special little thing we're going to talk about veterans tort claims. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to John Fishwick. John?
Zach, our host with the most, and this week you are the host with the most as you serve proudly in the Marines, and we're very proud of that. I know everybody in the country is proud of that. We wanted to have an episode of talking about your military service, but you're very modest and low-key about it. Don't like to. In fact, we bring it up more often than you do, so we won't unfortunately do that, but maybe for another webisode, we'll have success with that. But we really are proud of what you've done. I know your family, the country is, and we're proud of all the veterans. It's great that we honor our veterans today. So we do have the opportunity, obviously, to represent people who have served in the armed forces. And one of the ways we help them out is if they have a legal claim that, for example, would involve the Veterans Administration. Sometimes we have represented veterans that, sadly, our Veterans Administration, although in many ways is improving, there still can be some deficiencies in medical care. And that's been kind of something that's gone on for a long time in various administrations. Oftentimes the administrations say they're going to make it better. They have some success, but then maybe not as much success as they use. So sometimes we represent veterans who have had deficient medical care at a VA facility, and that's really kind of sad because they've served our country and we're not taking care of them. So Daniel, how does that work? It's a little more complicated because the Veterans Administrations are owned by the federal government. So that's a claim against the federal government, really, not necessarily the individual doctor, but against the Veterans Administration. It's something called a Federal Tort Claims Act. We in fact filed a Federal Tort Claims Act just this week. Tell our viewers a little bit about how that works.
Right. So for taking medical malpractice, for example, in the ordinary medical malpractice case, you're suing the doctor for their medical negligence. But in a VA-related case, you're actually suing the United States under the Federal Tort Claims Act, because as an employee of the United States, without that Federal Tort Claims Act, they would be immune from suit under the concept of sovereign immunity, which is, that phrase has been used a lot over the past several months. So in a Federal Tort Claims Act case, that differs from ordinary medical malpractice case in a lot of ways. One way is that you're always in federal court. It's the federal government's involved, so you have to be in federal court. You can't go to state court with that. The other way is there are certain procedural requirements. You have to give notice of the claim to the federal government. And unlike in the ordinary medical malpractice case, it won't be decided by a jury. It'll be decided by a judge who will determine the liability and the damages.
Yeah, those are good points. And they're very complex kind of procedurally cases. The cases are much like other cases we handle. It's just the federal system is different from the state system, and there are different procedural things associated with those Tort Claims Act that we handle. And then for a lot of veterans, Zach, were you going to say something?
I was, John. Just for a minute, you guys keep saying tort, and I know there's a lot of people out there that are the lay, and like me and Knuckle Dragon, Marine Grunt. What is exactly a tort?
That's a good question. I would ask Daniel, but he'd probably throw some Latin out there. So
well,
tort means a
it's not a dessert.
What's that?
It's not a dessert.
That's right.
You're right.
It's like negligence. A tort could be you're in an automobile case and the other person doesn't take good care and they run into you. It could be a doctor is not careful and they're, in a surgery that you have, and that's called a tort. It's an unusual word. It's a typical legal word. So Zach, thank you for bringing that to our attention. That's not easily understood, but basically it's negligence. It's not taking due care when you entrusted to take care of somebody. Gotcha. And so we often represent veterans though in really every practice area of our practice, which is criminal, personal injury, and civil rights. And veterans, like any citizen, can have those cases. We've got several criminal cases now where we're representing veterans, and that's a great strength in their case because I think judges and jury have tremendous respect, just like we do for Zach, for their service to the country. And I think that really is something that people look to try to understand that person, and hopefully they get a very fair shake in the criminal system. And in fact, we have a trial next year with somebody who's a veteran, and we're very looking forward to that case as well. So veterans have a lot of cases that cover the gamut. They're citizens of America and they're clients of ours, and we're proud to represent them. So on this Veterans Day, we thought we'd talk a little bit about veterans with our lead dog veteran, Zach Van Patten, our investigator and our host with the most. who maybe in a future webisode, Judge Daniel is going to let us talk about Zach and his accomplishments in the military. But apparently today that's not going to happen. But we look forward to it. We've got a list of other folks in the firm who have been resistant to come on the webisode, and now we've got a member of the firm who's resistant to talk about certain things. So I got work to do, but as you all know, I'm persistent. So Zach, if you would sign us off, I would appreciate that.
And just to
Absolutely.
add one quick thing before Zach signs us off, tort actually comes from the Latin tortum, meaning injustice.
There you go.
So there you go.
Excellent. There you go.
Good to
Boom.
go, Daniel.
And that really sums it up.
Boom.
Well, again, from everybody here at Fishwick Associates, we want to thank you. We want to say special shout out and thank you to all the veterans, all the men and women who have served, serving, and will serve. Thank you very much for everything. And we'll see you guys next week.